Hello, my name is Richard the Dungeon Crawler. Today, I have something a little bit different. We're going to take a break from Beckme dungeon crawling and go over my early Robotech Palladium games. The first three I purchased at the San Diego ComicCon, and I had Carl Masick sign them. If you'd like to take a closer look at the rule set and hear my personal history with Robotech, then please step inside my dungeon. In 1985, Robotech aired here in the States, and I was already watching Transformers. Like many other boys, I was really interested in aviation, and the action scenes blew me away. They were beautifully animated, and there actually was a serialized story. To me, it wasn't just another cartoon with transforming mechs. For instance, on a back-to-back episode, the protagonist loses his best friend and mentor to combat. If you have not seen Robotech, I recommend a watch. It will still hold up. Also, I'm not going to go over the Harmony Gold controversy. Robotech is a dubbed version of 3 different series, and to tie these series together, many elements were changed, which is not cool. But middle school Richard had no idea of these original versions. In fact, I didn't even know what Japanese animation was, and Robotech was my first experience into the anime world. In fact, I saw Cure in the theater mostly because of this interest in Robotech. Because of my interest in Robotech, I begged my father to take me to the San Diego ComicCon, and that was a pretty hard sell because it was an 8-hour drive. I believe that was the 1986 Comic-Con, and I purchased the first 3 Robotech books, which I will show you today. During the convention, I saw a booth that had a movie poster of Robotech. I was surprised because I didn't know there was a movie coming out, and that's where I met Carl Masick. He told me this movie didn't have any original cast members, and I probably looked disappointed because he started talking about the new series he was working on, and he even showed me some early character art. And I waited for years for this series to come out, and I'm still waiting today. So that's enough of the backstory. Let's look at the books. This is my original copy. I like the point of view of this picture. It looks like it's kind of from the ground. It's another cool picture. They start you right away with character creation. And this is pretty much what I'm used to as far as the stats-wise. I mean, I was surprised with a mental endurance and a physical endurance. That was different for me. Also, what's totally different is they call it an exceptional roll. If you get a 16, 17, or 18, you get to roll an additional d6 and add that to your total. And then you get some pretty big bonuses for that. Because Robotech has character-based combat and mecha-based combat, 2 types of damage is needed. The first is structural damage capacity, which is for human characters and conventional structures. And then there's mega damage capacity, which is used for mecha. I remember the insanity section really surprised me. It states the following is a guide to some traumatic situations requiring a roll on the random insanity table. And it says long period of physical or mental torture. There's drug-induced hallucination. I remember thinking, yikes. Classes in Robotech are called Occupational Character Classes, or OCC. There's the Destroid, which is a non-transformable mecha. There's a Veritech fighter pilot, which would probably be a popular class. There's 3 types of engineers, a communications, electrical, a mechanical engineer, a military specialist. This one's a little bit different. They specialize in weapons, but they don't initially start off flying mecha, but they can learn to fly or pilot a Destroid. Here was my problem with the classes. In D&D, they should include a various group, so they could all support each other. But I couldn't figure out a way to incorporate the various occupational classes. For instance, there's a slow-moving Destroid pilot, and then the fast and agile Veritech pilots, and then some engineers also. So I wasn't sure how to incorporate this into one group. So when I ran this, my party basically just flew Veritechs. Let me know how you incorporated these multiple character classes in your adventure. Let's take a look at the Veritech fighter pilot. These are the OCC skills that they automatically come with. For instance, there's Pilot Jet, Pilot Veritech, and in the other skills, they could select 14, but there could be limitations. For instance, on communications, it says radio skills only, but some of the other ones like physical, they could do any, pilot, any. For me, selecting these other skills was the most time-consuming part of character creation. As you see, there's a lot of handwritten checks when I was selecting the different skills. An important category for me was the physical skills category. They actually increase your skills and give you some buffs. So for instance, bodybuilding will give you a +2 to your physical strength. The hand-to-hand area shows the basic hand-to-hand stats depending on the skill you selected, which are used in combat. But what is really cool is if you're in a mecha, these stats here are added to the mecha's stats. Let's take a look at the Veritech combat. So in your hand-to-hand skills, you got 2 attacks per melee. But in Veritech combat, you also have 2 attacks per melee. So when you're piloting that mecha, you get a total of 4 attacks. Let's take a look at some of the artwork. Veritech Fighter in fighter mode. Guardian mode, kind of in-between mode. That's the trainer Rick Hunter used in the first episode. And of course, Skull Leader. The Jolly Rogers looks pretty cool. Probably my favorite mecha from that first series is the Super Veritech. It has some huge thrusters, and those thrusters actually carry additional missiles. Excalibur, Destroid, the Gladiator. Probably my favorite Destroid was the Mach 2. The Zentraedi are the enemies of the Earth. They are genetically altered to be massive fighting machines. This section is quite small. It's only 16 pages, but most of those pages are devoted to mecha. So let's take a look. The Tactical Battle Pod, not too powerful, but they come in swarms. Artillery Battle Pods, which have additional weapons on the top. A Recon Battle Pod, it's a scout. Then the Officer's Battle Pod, which has weapon arms and a huge cannon on the top. The Male Power Armor. But the most dangerous is the Female Power Armor. This thing comes packed full with weapons. It has actually 84 missiles. You only get 1 page of adventure scenarios. I definitely played through all of these. And let's take a look at the player characters. Max Sterling, Ace Pilot, and then Maria. But as you notice, there was no stats for the Zentraedi capital ship. Book 2, the RDF Manual. First page is pretty cool. There's a Spartan taking out a battle pod. This is a well-needed change. Now you could increase your skill knowledge the higher levels you get. So the more, when you increase your levels, you get to choose new skills. Additional weapons and vehicles. My favorite of these was the M35 Wolverine, which was an assault rifle and a grenade launcher. So it'll do structural damage capacity and mega damage capacity. Do you remember the aircraft carrier arms? So here's stats for both the Daedalus and the Prometheus. This next section is pretty useful. It discusses the different areas in the Earth after the series ended. It shows how the Earth's areas was populated. These pages can help you build out a campaign world. Book 3 is this information about the Zentraedi. If you remember in the core book, there wasn't much information on the Zentraedi. The space for Zentraedi character creation has increased, and you're also given a new OCC for a Zentraedi fighter pilot. And of course, you're given Zentraedi character sheets. The last half of the book has all the stats for the capital ships, since none were provided in the core books. It's all here. Britai's flagship with maps. This is Chiron's command ship. We have a landing ship. A destroyer. A small scout ship in the Robotech factory. Thanks for coming with me to reminisce about Robotech. If you made it all the way through, how about giving me a like? It would definitely help the channel grow. And this has been just an overview of the first few books. Let me know if you'd like to talk about any other Robotech Palladium books, or go in depth about character creation, or maybe combat. Let me know in the comments if you played any Robotech RPGs and what you thought of the series. If you want to show your support for the channel, all you have to do is make sure you're subscribed and you'll be notified when the next adventure is ready. And I'll see everybody on the next dungeon crawl.